Hello and welcome to my presentation on peer-assisted learning strategies. Reading is a core part of any classroom regardless of the subject or the student's age. However, many students struggle with reading. Peer-assisted learning strategy, or PALS, is an evidence-based practice designed to help students become better readers. PALS involves pairing a high and low level reader together and having them complete 3 reading activities, which I will explain in detail later. This is so that the students can learn from each other. PALS is a highly structured approach with a tight schedule that teachers must adhere to. I will be covering PALS for grades 2 through 6, but PALS works with all age ranges. For younger children, there are some tweaks that need to be made, but the overall format stays the same. Lastly, PALS works well for both students with and without disabilities. Looking at the research, Fuchs et al. 1997 investigated the effects PALS had on students in 20 elementary and middle schools. This study looked at 3 different learner types based on reading proficiency, lower achievers with disabilities, low achievers without disabilities, and average achievers. Students' reading ability was assessed using the comprehensive reading assessment battery both before the study and after 15 weeks. This study found that PALS increased the reading proficiency of all 3 learner types. However, this study also found that PALS did not work for the bottom 20% of students with learning disabilities. This shows that PALS may not work for students with severe learning disabilities. Students for which English is not their first language have extra difficulties in trying to read. In Senez et al. From 2005, the effectiveness that PALS had on English language learners was investigated. PALS effectiveness was tested on 4 learner levels: learning disability, low, average, and high reading levels. In grades 3 through 6, it was found that PALS increased reading comprehension for English language learners in all 4 learner groups. While most of the research on PALS focuses on grades 2 through 6, Maths et al. 2011 showed that PALS was also effective in a first grade classroom. Students and teachers were able to easily implement the activities, and all learner types benefited from PALS, with the low achieving readers benefiting the most. To implement PALS, the teacher needs to do some setup before starting the assignment. First, the teacher needs to rank the students based on their reading level. This can be done with any reading comprehension measure available. Then the teacher is going to pair the highest achieving student with the lowest. The students are then going to be paired up following the top with the bottom format. Once all of the students have been paired, each pair is going to be assigned of one of 2 teams if the students are younger, as in under grade 2. If the students are older, as in older than grade 2, they don't need to be put into the 2 teams. These teams will compete against each other for points throughout the class. After all pairs have been assigned to a team, the teacher will hand out books to each pair with the difficulty of the books based on the lower performer's reading ability. It is best to gather the books once the students have been ranked so that you know how difficult the book should be. It is also fine if each pair has a different book, but both students in a pair must have the same book. Finally, the lower performer will be assigned as coach, and the higher performer will be assigned as reader. The reader always starts reading for each activity to demonstrate proper reading technique, and the coach helps to correct mistakes. The first activity that students will perform is partner reading with retell. The reader, who is the higher performing student, will start reading the book for 5 minutes. During this time, the coach, who is the lower performing reader, will correct mistakes and offer feedback. After 5 minutes, the students will switch roles and the new reader will start reading where the first reader left off. After another 5 minutes, the students will take turns retelling the main ideas of the story, starting with the higher performing student. The students will do this for 2 minutes. After the 12 minutes is up for the partner reading with retell, the students will start on paragraph shrinking. In this activity, the reader, who is the higher performing student again, will start reading where the last reader left off. This will happen for 5 minutes. At the end of each paragraph, the reader identifies the main character and summarizes the main idea in 10 words or less. The coach offers guidance and answers and asks leading questions when necessary. After 5 minutes, the students switch roles and begin again where the last reader left off. After paragraph shrinking, the students will begin prediction relay. For this activity, the students will switch roles again, and the reader will make predictions about what will happen on the next half page. The reader then reads the half page and determines if the predictions were correct. Lastly, the reader summarizes the main idea of the half page in 10 words or less. During this time, the coach will provide the same types of feedback from the other two activities, as well as offering corrective feedback if there is a disagreement about the prediction. After 5 minutes, the students will switch roles and begin again, starting where the last reader left off. After all three activities have been completed, the students will total up the points they earned during the session. I will discuss how to award points on a later slide. At the end of the week, the students will report their total number of points to the class. Then the teachers will tally up the points for each team, and the class will applaud the winner if you're doing this with younger kids. If you're doing this with older kids, they'll just keep track of how many points that they've earned. After 4 weeks, the pairs should have changed up for grades 2 through 6, but for high school, pairs should be switched earlier to deal with absentee rates. Since PALS is a complicated evidence-based practice with multiple activities, students need to be trained on how to implement it. Training should be done every other day for 40 to 60 minutes for 6 weeks. The IRIS Center's module on PALS in high school has a comprehensive training schedule for teachers to implement. Teachers also need to make sure that they are keeping track of time and ensuring students are smoothly transitioning to the next activity. If students go over time or take too long to transition, the class will struggle to use PALS correctly. The whole PALS session should take 35 minutes, with 12 minutes for partner reading, 10 minutes for paragraph shrinking, and 10 minutes for prediction relay. During PALS, the teacher should monitor each pair for a few minutes. It is important that each pair has been observed at least one time a week, but a teacher should strive to observe all groups more than that. Teachers need to pay attention to reading fluency, the effectiveness of the summarization, and how well the students are working together. As teachers go around the class, they will give students points based on their performance. As has been alluded to earlier, PALS has a built-in point system designed to foster competition and a sense of accomplishment. Teachers should award points, or PALS bucks, to pairs for being focused, 1 buck, catching mistakes, 1 buck, cooperating, 1 buck, using helpful strategies, 3 bucks, and attending class, 5 bucks. Points are recorded on an earnings card, and for older students can be used to buy things that the student would want, like snacks, school supplies, etc. For younger students, just having the 2 class teams works as motivation. Here are my references used. I hope you enjoy.